Can you hear us, Jean?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Oh, good. Okay. I thought so.
Hoyte,
You've got a little square at the bottom that says Jean Lawson Audio. Got that.
Hoyte, anytime
Yes,
you're
sir.
ready, you can start.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm Hoyte Decker. This is the July 1st, 2020 Law Oversight Committee meeting, virtual meeting today. Hope everybody's staying safe. I'm going to start the meeting off by doing a call to order, and I'm just going to run the names of the people who are present. And that is Sturgis Dodge, Jean Lawson, and Susan Wood. The other member, Peter Bersari, was informed about this. I actually was in contact with him yesterday, and because of circumstances with his restaurant, it's probable that he's not going to be able to participate, but he's here in spirit. Now, second item, and forgive me, I just realized this morning, that we had minutes from our March 4th meeting, which were distributed to the members prior to what was supposed to be our March 18th meeting. But I failed to put that into the agenda here for this morning. However, I've been informed by the city secretary that it's possible for us to pass the minutes if you're so inclined. So I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes for March the 4th, 2020. And a second.
I move that the minutes. Go ahead, Susan.
Nope, go ahead. You first.
Okay, I just moved that the minutes of the last meeting be accepted.
Can I get a second, Susan?
I second.
Okay, thank you. And maybe just if you'll just say yes if you're in favor of approving the minutes, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so that's Sturgis. Second, and they're approved. Okay. And Ann, I will send a copy of that document, and then we'll get a signature when we can. Thank you very much.
That's
okay.
Fine. Hoyte, if you take a look at your agenda, I did put in there that you can go ahead and approve those minutes. They are listed on the agenda.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay.
So as far as I can tell, there's no correspondence and the citizen participation, there was nobody registered to offer comments today. So I'm going to jump right in to old business, and the agenda item calls for discussion and vote on the draft tree ordinance, which is attached to the agenda this morning. So if I may, what I'd like to do is to just move, or excuse me, to call for a motion and a second on the proposal to send this forward, and then we'll have a discussion about the specifics of it. So can I get a motion, please?
I move that we accept the draft as written.
Okay, thank you. And a second?
I second.
All right, very good. All right. Thank you, ladies. So is anybody interested in talking about some of the specifics of this issue, or if, like me, you may have some concerns that you want to state at this point?
I have just a couple of notes. I'm considering, and I kind of ask your advice if I might also want to just create a brief document to be attached as this goes forward, as you have done with your dissenting opinion. Other than that, no, and I defer to you to go ahead and voice your
Okay,
thoughts, or
okay,
anybody else.
all right. Gene, how about you?
I really don't have much to say about it. I feel like there will be time for tweaking it if it's going to be tweaked during public hearings before the Board of Commissioners. So I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time nitpicking it today.
Okay. Susan, are you available?
I agree. I think we've gotten as close as we can get for a small group. I think it's going to be picked over pretty good by a larger group, and we can readjust whatever issues they have after that time.
Okay. So just for the record, I'm going to just mention that I had provided a support document which identifies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 concerns that I had. I'm not going to take up the time to do that now, but it is attached to the agenda and it will go forward to the Board of Commissioners. So with that, unless there's some other
Hoyte,
thought,
I have 3 things I wanted to mention, just so
by
they're
all means.
record. One was, I was looking at the appeals section, and I'm not sure if this is a problem or not. It escaped my notice when we were reviewing it before. But what I noticed was in the appeals section 253-13A4, it talks about authority. And it refers specifically to appealing regarding the application for a tree removal permit. And what struck me is that the city arborist / building and licensing office also makes decisions on tree protection plans, tree plans, or tree planting plans. And I just wanted to raise that as a possible omission in terms of a decision that the city arborist might make that someone would wish to appeal. In the language, it is very specific to application for a tree removal permit. And people, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, finish. Go ahead.
Well, people frequently appeal to the Shade Tree Commission, or Ordinance Commission, regarding planting orders, mitigation orders, things other than tree removal permit applications. I don't know whether the tree permit application process is inclusive of all those things, I'm kind of missing that, or whether that it would be a good idea to have that spelled out. So I just raising that question.
Okay, so are you in a position, and I recognize you may not be, to give me the copy that was posted as a support document for the tree ordinance has a numbered identification along the left-hand margin? Can you give me the line number that?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
The
Okay.
copy I have online doesn't have that, but
Okay.
I can cite it's 253-13.
Yeah, I got that.
A4 authority.
Right. Okay. So I was just trying to make it as clear as we could.
Right.
I see what you're talking about. And what I'm going to suggest, if it's feasible for you to do something in writing,
Sure.
subsequent to today, to be either posted as a support document for this meeting, or we can attach it to the memo that I've drafted. We can adjust that to include your comments in that. So you had 2 other items?
There were 2 others that have occurred to me. And one was we've talked about sort of best practices regarding construction and how those can, act toward preserving trees. And one of the things that occurred to me, but I didn't investigate this, is whether or not the city could provide some kind of incentives, maybe along the line of making parking areas in front of a building site available in order to keep building materials, outhouses, machines from being stored on building lots. And that was just something that I thought would be helpful if the city could be flexible about allowing people to put their ducks, their garbage skiffs, all those things not on the property because there's so little room on property.
Right.
The other thing, and I'm just
Well, excuse me, let me just respond to you on that one.
Sure.
Are you saying that in the context of the whatever, I don't have it in front of me right at the moment, but the tree protection during construction provision, is that what?
Yes, correct. It related
Okay.
to that I just thought, there's sometimes you'll go and someone will.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying.
The big duck out on the street, and then other times they squeeze it onto the lot, and then they store their building materials, and in trying to maintain a safe perimeter around trees with all of that going on is next to impossible.
Right.
The other thing, and this is kind of something I go back to and is kind of beyond the scope, but it's just a general opinion that I feel I need to state, is that I really feel that looking at this in a more holistic way, and looking at how this code relates to the zoning, the building and zoning code, really looking at how much we allow people to build on lots and whether or not that's working. Just as a case in point is giving someone a smaller front yard in exchange for, letting them have a front porch, therefore shrinking the front yard when, we've said we want a tree in the front yard. So, I still think there is an issue that exists about whether or not trees and buildings currently can coexist harmoniously.
So, I mean, your point is well taken, and indeed, I will remind everyone, this will be number 6 time that I have said publicly that the city, that the Board of Commissioners needs to do a professional review of the zoning code, and that would encompass the issues that you're just describing.
Right.
So, I'm supportive of your concept. Again, what I'm going to recommend is that, you've got 3 issues that are valid. And, you might want to do a separate memo to the Board of Commissioners. It's not really, you're kind of getting off the track there a little bit, especially with that last one. But in any way that you would want to convey your concerns to the Board of Commissioners,
Okay.
I think that's an appropriate next step for your concerns.
I guess what I'm wondering, Hoyte, since you're going to be attaching your dissenting opinion to this when you send it to the Board of Commissioners, could I write something up?
Yes, that's what I was saying before.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
What's my deadline?
So I think it's pretty open. What I'm intending to do is the next topic of conversation. Well, we're going to vote on this, and the next topic of conversation is a discussion of that memo. So why don't we go ahead, unless anybody else has any further comments that they want to make, Susan or Jean, if we're good. All right. Well, then I'm going to call thank you. I'm going to call for a vote, and I would like some sort of a statement, either positive or negatively, depending on how you're voting, about the reason for your vote. So if we can get started, maybe I'll start with Sturgis, please.
Yes, I'm voting in favor of this version and voting to send it forward to the mayor and commissioners. And my reasons are that, even though it's an imperfect document, we've shortened it, we've simplified it, we've added definitions and specifications for high canopy trees. We have named and described the Tree Ordinance Commission in a way that sort of mirrors what in actuality their duties include. We've specified that training is appropriate for them to help so they can do a good job. Let's see what else we've done. We've talked about in this code best practices for construction to protect trees. And we've also made the mitigation process less cumbersome, and we've also permitted some exemptions for trees that are undesirable, which I think is a good idea. And we have a very complete appeals process. And we've also, added in the whole idea of civil penalties in line with other violations that occur within the city. And for those reasons, I think this is a good start here.
Okay, Susan?
Yes, I'm in favor of passing it on to the commissioners as well. Just noting that it is a start and that there's so many portions of the code that are intertwined with other sections of the code that I think a full overview of the entire code needs to be done, and perhaps if it can be aligned again, like we talked about, a penalty section and a procedural section and a variance section that is consistent throughout the code for those areas. I guess what I'm saying is that it has to be combined more with the building code and the other codes, but as a standalone portion for just the tree ordinance, setting aside possibly the penalty section and the enforcement section that I think can be standardized, I think it's good to go.
Thank you. And Gene?
Basically, my feeling is it needed to be rewritten no matter what when we started a couple of years ago. So I think what we've done is a good start to send to the commission, knowing that they're going to be the ones that have the power to do it or not to do it, and keeping in mind something that's been pointed out by the Supreme Court lately, and that is it does not matter what the intent of the drafters are. What matters is what they wrote. And that's why I think the commission's going to be the ones going to have to be more careful about what they write, because the past ordinances were not written very succinctly or very clearly, and therefore we always had problems with them. So hopefully this will be a step in the right direction. So I'll vote for it in that regard.
Thank you, Gene. And the chair votes yes. My comments are to take a moment to just say that I appreciated the efforts of all the members of the committee, both past and present. And I also want to recognize both Sturgis and Susan for their game effort. And most recently, I think it actually probably started back in October of last year, but was brought to the table in December to alter the direction and markedly improve the product that we're seeing today. So I give you kudos for that. I believe in the end, what we have here is a product which is markedly different than what is currently on the books. And to pick up some of Sturgis's points, especially with regard to strengthening and streamlining the functions of whatever the appeals body is going to be called, and making it a lot more in line with the way, at least in my mind, it should be operated. So with that, I'm voting yes, and therefore the motion passes. We'll send it along with a cover memo, which I would now like to discuss if anybody has any comments. And I'm going to start off by referring to the last part of that memo, Susan, I know you haven't looked at it recently, but it does recognize the comments that you just made to bring to the attention of the Board of Commissioners your suggestion, and it's a good one, for consolidating some of these provisions into like a universal enforcement provision that applies not just to the tree ordinance, but also across the board to other areas. So with that, I'm open to anybody else's comments about how we're going to do this. Let me know.
Yeah, I think your memo is good, Hoyte.
Okay.
Mhm.
So with that, then I'm going to take that as a general approval. I don't think we need to vote on it, but I will mention for the record that I will be attaching my concerns, and I would propose to put this to the Board of Commissioners for their next, or send it to them so that they could have it available for their next regular meeting. And, just that's typically the way I've done reports to the Board of Commissioners, is to do it at their regular meeting. Of course, that was at a time when I went to the regular meeting, so I don't know how this is going to work, but I would propose to do it that way again. So what we're talking about would be the regular meeting for July. Okay. And Sturgis, to your question earlier about what's your deadline. So if you could get me something back, in the next couple of weeks so that I could get it to them well in advance of that, whatever that date is in July.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Hang on. We're almost there. Speaking of next meetings, I anticipate that the Board of Commissioners, once they receive this document, will, I hope, want to bring it up for discussion at future Board of Commissioner workshops. And to that end, I will repeat a statement I made in March, and I think I may have made it back in February too, that I think it's appropriate, and I encourage participation of all of the members of the Law Oversight Committee in the Board of Commissioners deliberation of this thing going forward. So with that on the record, I will then say that I'm not sure when we will do another meeting. I'm not anticipating a meeting in the next couple of months. What I will also do at the time that I make this report to the Board of Commissioners is tell them that we're available for further discussion on topics that they have an interest in us pursuing. So I'm not sure how that will play out, when or if they will want to do that in the foreseeable future, but that's my intention. So I'm not going to try and schedule the meeting at this point. I will give you all kinds of notice once we get to the stage where there will be the likelihood of a meeting. Okay?
Great,
So,
thank you.
All right. So unless I hear any other good of the record comments, it's at 10:23. I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ann and Max. Thank you.
Thank you.